Hi there, I'm Milan Yerkovich with New Life Ministries, and I love opportunities like this to have an intimate conversation with you and discuss some of the questions that you have and have forwarded to us here at the New Life Studios. Today I'm going to be talking about fear. It's a question that one of our listeners or viewers posed. And the subtitle to the category of fear, like I'll take fear for 500, Alex, is learning how to walk fearlessly is the subpoint. Fear, learning how to walk fearlessly. Well, I think that's impossible. I don't think anybody can walk fearlessly because there is fear in life, and there are many things to fear. The question is, what kind of fear is it that we're talking about? And so I just simply want to say that a fearless life is impossible in this lifetime, okay? A fearless life is impossible in this lifetime. Now, having said that, having come out of a life of fear based upon the fact that I grew up in a home where there was an explosive parent who couldn't predict when this parent was going to explode, and also a parent who was highly fearful, very, very fear-based of everything around them. Easily startled, easily frightened, careful, careful. So I came out of a fearful environment in which I was then the highly anxious child. And so anxiety kept me from exploring and going off and explore like a child is supposed to do. So if here is the attachment figure right here, the parent, the mother, the dad. A child, as soon as they can crawl, starts off and they crawl away, and then they look around and see if mom and dad is still there, and then they come back and recharge and go off and explore and come back, go off and explore and come back, go off and explore and come back. And that's how a child explores their world. But if the mother or the father or the parent or caregiver is going, don't go too far, careful, careful, there's water on the floor over there, we don't want you to slip or get wet, oh my gosh, and don't go too far, then the child begins to lose their exploration skills or desires because they're too afraid to go over there. Something bad might happen. So, and then you have people, some that are fearless, have no feelings at all, or hardly any fear. And they will do things that are just crazy to me. They'll climb Half Dome at Yosemite without any climbing gear because they believe somehow they can do that, or they're invincible, and they will go up and try and climb, do something that's never been done before. And somehow fear does not immobilize them, and they press forward. In some cases, fatally they go beyond their capacities. Gravity is a very powerful force, and so it's important to keep that in mind. Now, having said that, relationally, we can be quite fearful, and in our book, How We Love, we talk about the pleasers, and pleasers are very frightened, and they're very frightened about what others think, and they never want others to disapprove of them. Pleasers are proximity seekers. They want to be close, and they only want to say things that allow them and don't threaten their closeness, because I'm safe if I'm close, I'm not safe if I'm far. So I'm not going to do anything to upset you so you don't push me away. I'm certainly not going to get angry at you because anger is a separating emotion, and I don't want to be separated from you and apart. So I'm going to do everything I can to make you happy so that I don't have to be alone and worried because I'm on my own. I want to talk about that just for a few minutes, because one of the most important things that happens naturally and developmentally in the illustration I just gave is a baby in the first 18 months of life, they bond with the caregiver through nursing, nurturing, holding, caretaking, delighting, smiling, laughing, mimicking the looks on the face of the child and the baby. The mirror neurons in the parent and the child both reflect to one another. Oxytocin is released, which is a bonding hormone, and a bond takes place that is sweet and deep. If you had a good experience with a caregiver that could give you that, some of us didn't. But if you did, bonding took place between you and the child, or the child and you, or the parent and you. Then the child, with that security, goes off and explores and comes back, goes off and explores and goes back. And then pretty soon they're walking, and then they waddle and they toddle, and that's why we call them toddlers. And they toddle off and they toddle back, and they toddle off and they toddle back. And they check with mom or the caregiver. And then they toddle over to the playground equipment, and they go up the stairs and they sit at the top of the slide, and they look back. Is mom looking and is dad looking? And if it's a 20-foot slide, mom and dad might be looking like this right now, and it's how'd you get up there? If it's a small little 6-foot slide and it's long, they may say, go ahead, you're safe, go. And so the parent reflects, and the child, ready, this is important, learns to separate from the bonding person, the caregiver, mom, dad. Learning to separate means I'm okay alone. I'm okay by myself over here. I don't need someone holding my hand the whole time. Either literally or metaphorically, I don't need anybody holding my hand to get through this next task. I don't need somebody holding my hand to fill out this application. I don't need somebody to hold my hand to drive the car 500 miles or to go off and do something. I can separate from others. Or I don't need somebody holding my hand. I can actually say to somebody else, I disagree. I don't want to do that. That upsets me. That behavior is not something I value or approve of. So the answer is no, I won't participate with you in that. Oh, I disagree with you on that subject. Nope, I'm not going to do that. By the way, I think it's incorrect for you to do that. As a matter of fact, in some cases, I might say, that's not only wrong, but that goes against God's will, and that's actually what you're doing right there is evil. Do I have the words and the internal strength to be fearless enough to say those things and risk rejection? That's the key. To risk rejection. To risk having somebody angry at me and being able to tolerate their disapproval. Guess what? I had to learn to do that. I had to learn to say things that really upset people. I had to learn to say things that were oppositional to their likes and preferences and desires or whatever they wanted to do. I had to say, I'm sorry, that's not a good thing. Or I need to warn you, don't go down that path. It's a destructive path. And then tolerate the rejection. So really what this is just like the toddler, I have to learn to separate from people. And then in some cases not look back because they're not approving. And some of the people I need to learn to say no to are the very people I bonded with at the beginning, AKA parents, moms, dads, caregivers, AKA also known as family of origin. Do I have the capacity to be an adult around my family of origin? Can I say my opinion? Can I tell them what I really think? Do I just say quiet so I don't ruffle any feathers? Do I say stay quiet so I don't put ripples in the water and cause waves? Or, and discretion is important here too. I can't just say anything I want to say. Wisdom says I'll choose when to talk and when not to talk. Wisdom says I'll pick my battle. I'm not going to make everything a battle. Some people do. They make every single thing a battle. And then they're not fun to hang around or be around. So, can I live fearlessly? No, there's things I really fear. I fear a mountain lion, a shark, a bear. I fear the ocean. I love the ocean. Kay and I are great swimmers. That's how we met. But I also know it's more powerful than me. So I have a lot of fear for the ocean, with a respect for it and with a usage of it. Now, there's some days I don't get in the water, in the ocean. I live in the Pacific coast here. I don't get in if the riptides are super heavy, and I don't get in if the waves are 6 to 8 feet. Why would I do that? I'm not a lifeguard, and I'm not going to go out there and do something that I'm really not, that's dangerous. I don't need to do that. I'll wait for a calm day to go out. So I live with an appropriate level of fear. Now, I will lastly say that as a child, I was bullied a lot. And even as a young adolescent, I was bullied a lot. So what I learned to do was I studied martial arts for the last 25 years. And so I can fairly much say, although I never telegraph it or talk about it, but I can pretty much say that there are very few circumstances in public where I feel fearful. And if I do, I take an appropriate strategy to get myself away from fearful situations like that. But I can certainly say that if you do have fear, work against the fear, push against it instead of avoiding it. If you're afraid to drive over 5 miles from your house, then drive 10. If you're afraid to go run you're afraid to go past running a mile, then run 2 miles. If you are afraid of something, go do it. If you're afraid to get on a motorcycle because you fell off, get back on it and ride around a simple course. But that's what they talk about, getting back on the horse. And then we have to just push against the things we fear the most and actually conquer them, and then we'll be less fearful. I can say to you that I do have respectful and appropriate fears, but I don't live fearlessly. I have things I have to respect every single day that I know are bigger than me. But I would have to say most of my time now, I do not live with fear as a predominant aspect of my life. And that is wonderful to be freed from that. I hope that for you and wish that for you as well. Those are just a few of my thoughts on fear and my journey out of it, but still holding on to some of it that's very appropriate. So thanks for joining me, and I will look forward to being with you again.